Hey, my name is Kaiko, and in this video I'm going to explain some tricks and techniques I used in my promo mix and answer some of your questions regarding acapellas, warping or effects to create some cool mashups and to combine them in a fast-paced mix using Ableton. So let's start. So this is the project in Ableton, that's what it looks like. And we're going to start with the most common question. It's the one where I get all the acapellas and stems from. For example, here in the Super Future intro edit, with the vocals and bass and leads and strings and all this stuff. And my first suggestion is always to search on Google. You will find a lot of sites there, a lot of stuff, and I can give you one more tip. It's demodrop.com. There's the acapella section and you can download many useful acapellas here pretty easily. And in case of stems, there is a site called remixcomps.com. You can have an overview of all the remix contests in the internet, and there is always an explanation how to get those stems that I would advise to download them pretty quickly, because when the contest is over they're usually gone. So the first thing I do when all the tracks are in here is to warp them. You need to get the real BPM of the tracks and then you can warp them. For example, Super Future is in 127. I warped it, and usually I let everything at complex warping mode. It's working the best if you're not doing some dramatic changes. But in this case here, for example, I pitched up the whole track, Super Future track, one semitone up, so it fits to Burn and the Loopers track. And I used the Pro mode because you can experiment with the performance value here and just look what sounds best and take the value. I always do this with acapellas too. On the Pro mode, for example, here performance is on 100, and this is just for experimenting. You can definitely experiment with all the other modes. You definitely have to choose what sounds best. The other thing that is really important are the two send channels here. There are two reverbs. On the first one is a short reverb, on the second one is a longer one when I need some more tail. And I put them on the send because I use them pretty often. Like here, you can see when the reverb would be off, it would sound like this, just ending really quickly, and when it's on, it's more smooth. And this is something I use pretty often in the mix for all kind of transitions. And also I put a lot of depending on the acapellas, I put reverb on them. For example, here it's -10. Acapellas, most of the acapellas need reverb because they are pretty dry and it sounds just better with the reverb. And if you have some acapellas that are not 100% studio quality, like this one here, Break Free, I also added the waves, one knob fattener on it and boosted a little bit of the low mids to get a little bit more body of the acapella. The next advice I can give is if you play certain edits pretty often in your mixes or in your sets, then it's maybe a smart thing to add some variation to them. For example, the Red Guitar Baby, maybe some of you know, this is a mashup that I used to play pretty often by now. I put it in the mix, but I took away the second drop. It was originally sounding like this. Pretty big roomish, maybe some of you remember. And in this mix, because it doesn't fit into the style, in my opinion, it's more percussive. And just some little bit twists to keep it interesting, even for people who may know the tracks or the edits you play. And what also is always important to, in my opinion, to add some elements from the break. into the drop, certainly in the end of the bars where there is a little bit gap. For example, here. And for example, even here with the heaven one coming into the drop. Yes, in my opinion, it glues the tracks more together and just more fun to listen to. One other thing in the mix that is pretty obvious, it's that most of the drops are a little bit shorter than in the original versions, because I like to keep it in a fast tone and keep it interesting. For example, here in the part with Break the Rules and Pinball, the drop in the original version is like this. It goes on like this. Pretty repetitive, and I made it a little bit quicker to add some more elements on it faster. And also here the vocals appear in the drop. Again, one important thing is to EQ them out, EQ the lows out. And when you add something like this, you need to cut the mids a little bit here. Like this. So they can breathe a little bit more and cut through the mix. Also, yeah, a little bit reverb here. So the next thing I want to talk about is, if you create some mashups or edits, it's nice when they have meaning, especially with the lyrics. For example, here in the Back to Life edit, there is the classic Back to Life. I used the Clutch Back to Reality remix. I speed it up a little bit and add it to Don Diablo's Back to Life. And you can listen here. And in the part where from Don Diablo the vocals sing Back to Life, I lowered the volume a little bit so it can appear in the mix. Yes, it's the same thing later with the Now or Never edit, and yeah, it's just tells a little bit of story. I think it's a nice way to combine tracks together. One other thing is if transitions even are not smooth, even if you use reverb, then you can add some sweeps, like this one here in the end. So it's not so dry and the transition is more smoothly. The next thing here is I did a fun effect here with the takeover control vocals. In the instrumental of Chase, there is a shutter effect, like here or here. And I made the vocals also shutter, so it glues them more together. For example, it sounds in the vocals. The way I feel when you take hold, it feels the best. And I didn't use VST for that, just simply zoom in and load the volume in the spaces where the shutter is happening, and also added a little bit of ping pong. The way I feel when you take hold, one single time, it feels the best when you... But of course only in the parts where it's happening. So yes, it's just sounding more fun together. It feels the best when you're next thing is, as you see, I like to use as much as the Ableton plugins, because I think they are pretty nice to work with when you're working with mashups or edits, and to use also, for example, here some parts of the tracks, like here the sweep down, so they glue a little bit more together. And the next thing here is a little bit of Easter egg in the part with Loden. There's a sample coming in here for the drop. It's basically the voice of Mickey Mouse, and it's used in the German version. He says "Oh boy," and it's from the instrumental of the German rapper Haftbefehl. So I think the most of them don't know him, but yeah, it's just a little of fun. Fits really nicely there. Next interesting part here is the bounce a cappella in combination with Loden. Especially this part here. She sings when the weekend comes, and it's the same rhythm as the synth shots in Loden appear here. And the combination just sounds really good. One other little secret I can tell you here is sometimes when I use vocals on instrumentals, I try out if they sound better in combination with a sausage fattener on the master. Sausage fattener from Data Live is, I think, one of the most well-known plugins every producer has, and usually you don't use them on finished tracks, but if I take it off here and I take it back on, sounds a little bit more crispy, and the vocals cut more through the wigs without slowing down the instrumental. So, but you can't use it anywhere because sometimes it gets too crisp and then the quality is just bad. But sometimes it really works really well, only in the part where the stuff is happening, and I think it's a fun tool to experiment with. Next thing I can advise to make more fluent mixes is to make some creative outros or intros when you mix into the next track. For example, here is the edit with I Gotta Let You Go and the Fatality. And in the Fatality there are this typical pep and rash vocal shots. And if I use the original outro, then it would sound like it will come a melody in that didn't appear before, so it's a little bit odd. So I took another track of them, it's called Rumors, and I think they used the same samples, just EQ'd out a bit, and yeah, put it into the transition so it fits a little bit more together. There are some elements from the track before and some elements from the track coming next, so I think it's working pretty nice. The thing here, I also used the sausage fattener here in this part with the Gold Skies vocals, and I think at the end of the Gold Skies vocals there is another effect. It's it's a delay. And the delay is coming in right before the end, to shutter a little bit before the drop kicks into the drop. And one other interesting thing here is I took the instrumental of Intoxicated and Pray and See, but there are some vocals appearing in the drop of Intoxicated when I put the original version. It's like this. But I didn't want them in because they didn't appear before, so it would be a little bit odd. So I copied just the first 8 bars of the drop, again here, and put hi-hats on them because then they need to be a little bit more interesting elements when the drop progresses. So I searched some hi-hats which fit there really nicely and put them in, so I created my own second drop. The next thing here is I want to talk a little bit about speed. This track is in 125 BPM, the Intoxicated edit, and the Sunshine track is usually in 120 as you see here, and it would be too slow if I would transfer it into the original speed, so I made it to 124, but coming into the drop I progressed it into 127. The reason is because if you warp tracks and transform them into another BPM, they will lose some volume in the low section.
Well, the thing I'm trying to say is...
Here it's original, but when I put it, for example, in 124, it would be clipping, as you see here, and that's not good. So usually take it back into the right speed. But with breaks, you can try out. Here I use the tones warping mode because it worked the best without losing any quality, and speed it up a little bit. Also here some elements of the sunshine tracks in the drop of dive. There are the piano or some part of the vocals. Again here in the next edit with the Kreider remix in combination with Quagga, there are these vocals. There are straight from the Quagga remix pack, which I found on Remix Comps, so don't forget to check out this site. Now we're coming to the edits I want to release the next one. It's Atlantification, it will be called. It's the combination of Vidas Atlanta, it's a drop, with Pelarian Twice X, with the vocals from Love Like This, Dangerous, and Take Me Home. And now it's talk about a tool I use pretty often to analyze before I make edits or mashups. It's called Mixed in Key, and it analyzes in which keys the tracks are in, and it usually makes a decent job. Sometimes it's wrong, but you can always try it out with the built-in piano. So for example, a simple example is the edit with OK, with Habits appearing earlier in the mix. This is OK. And this is Habits. And if you play the piano chords, you can hear they are in key and it's working. If I would put another random chords, it would sound like this, like here. Would just sound odd. So they are obviously in 7A, and I have on my desktop I have this Camelot wheel which I can always check. 7A is D minor, so the two are working pretty good together. And if you do some more complex edits with different kind of vocals, then usually you need to pitch vocals up or down to have it in the right key. If you don't do that, then you are pretty limited to create some complex mashups. For example, this one, you can see the Atlanta track is in 2A, and X is also in 2A, and Love Like This is also in 2A, so it's all good, but the vocals from Dangerous and from Take Me Home are in 9A, and there where this little board under the Camelot wheel is coming in. It's the keyboard transformation wheel, I guess, where you can see, for example, here we are in 9A, and then you just have to count one semitone up, then it would be 4, 2 would be 11, and if you go from 9 to 2, you need to tone it one semitone down, which I did also here with Dangerous. It's one down, and with Take Me Home it's also one down, so they are all now in 2A, so it sounds inky and pretty good. And then you can experiment with different instrumentals, vocals, combinations, but always always watch out that it's always sitting in the right place, so it doesn't sound odd. Yeah, that's that. The next thing is sometimes I don't get the acapellas. You can search for hours or days or ask anybody. You don't get the acapellas. This is the case, for example, here at Take You There. I couldn't find the acapellas, but I wanted to do a little trick here. It's you simply, when in some parts where nothing much is happening and you put another track on it, then you can sometimes EQ it out. So here, for example, in this part after the drop, it's EQ'd out. So the lows are out, the highs are out. Of course, you hear a lot of other stuff, but when this track is also playing, it's not interfering too much. Of course, I lowered down the mids of the Dylan Francis track a little bit, so the vocals here can breathe. And yeah, it's just a nice combination, a little bit of opportunity to try out when you don't find the vocals and you want to mix them up. You can try it a little bit with EQ or filters, and sometimes it works. Then here's a part with the Mario Kart part. Some people were annoyed about it, some people find it really funny. I think it's really cool because we're now about half the mix through, and I think it's nice to make a sudden change, to have some experimental tracks. Also the next ones are pretty fun in my opinion. So the next thing is here, for example, the On Your Mark. I boosted On Your Mark is on 128 BPM, and I boosted it to 130, so it fits more to Wild Out, you can see here. And because this is really percussive, I used the Beats warping mode. So you can, as I suggested earlier, you can just try out what sounds best without clipping too much. See here, it's all fine. The next thing here is I also couldn't get the Blame acapellas, the real ones. And I think it's not bad because I wanted in this edit the melody of Blame. It's coming in, it's no problem. Also the vocals here are pretty clean up until this part, until the part where he speaks up. There's too much stuff coming in. Of course you have to EQ it a little bit. So and for this case I used the Rehab Trap version. It's in 142 BPM. I slowed it down to 128 and EQ'd it a little bit. Also boosted it again with the fattener a little bit, so the vocals get more body, and it's working. There, it's more clean than the original version, so it worked. And here I used a little bit of tail of the do-it-yourself acapella. So it's a nice combination, and with a little bit of EQ and trying out, it worked. So we got the Night Love mashup left. It's made in a separate project because there is a lot of stuff going on there. I can maybe explain that in another video if you're interested. And in the last part, I have a last tip for you. Sometimes it's better to not warp at all if you are in the original speed, this 128, because this is unwarped, and if you would play this warp just with normal complex settings on warping, it will clip for no reason in the drop. Just watch. There, it just clipped because whatever, there's nothing on here, no effects going on, so I leave it unwarped. Always check for things like that because then some details will drag you down and you make some mashups and it's clipping in the drop, then it's pretty annoying. Maybe not many people will notice, but I think it's really annoying, so I always watch if warping modes cause some clipping or stuff like this. Okay, we're now at the end. I hope I could explain you some stuff. I hope I could answer some questions. If you have some questions left, just drop them in the comments or send me a message. I will try to help out. And also, if you want to listen to the mix, it's on my SoundCloud site. As always, just follow me on my site so you are informed about new stuff. And that's for now.